Soon the eviction restrictions will be lifted and people are going to be living in the streets with no money. What do you think is going to happen? Good morning. So I'm curious, guys, question of the day. How are you guys paying your bills? I'm dying to know. What I mean is, because of this COVID-19, I have met so many people. I should say I know so many people. There's so many of you that have not worked in the last 7-8 months. You guys have been unemployed. A $1,200 stimulus check is not paying your rent for the last 7-8 months. A $1,200 stimulus check isn't buying anybody food for the last 7 months. So I'm curious, how are families feeding their children on $1,200 spread out over 7 months? Because there's a lot of people that are on unemployment now. There's a lot of people waiting for unemployment that have not gotten it. Okay? How are you going to pay your rent or buy food for your kids or yourself? I'm curious. I want to know. This is not this isn't an exercise of any kind to make people think. This is a question. I know people that haven't gotten unemployment. I know people that have are waiting for it. People who have already gotten it and now don't have it, and they're just not going to get it forever. It's just going to run out. I'm not sure how it works. I've never ever applied for unemployment ever in my life. I've always been lucky enough to have work. So in the last couple of weeks, I can't remember where it was. I have cognition issues. Probably, I'll just say 2 weeks ago, I'd seen a message on the internet, I think it was in an email from the power company, that they are reconvening utility disconnections for people who can't pay. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together, and I'm like, how many people in this country are going to be without electricity or utilities? Because there's people that haven't worked in months that I don't know how these people are feeding themselves. I'm still waiting for food stamps, and I need them. In case you didn't know, I am below the poverty level in the United States. Daryl doesn't have extra anything all month. Daryl won't make it to the end of the month, period. Okay? That's where I am and where I've been for a long time. Financially, I'm doing a lot better than I was a year ago. My health, on the other hand, has deteriorated 100% in the last year. I'm not out hiking every day like some people have the illusion that I am. Okay? I've been out of this house maybe 10 times this entire year. I've been out of this living room maybe 10 times. So that's reality. That's my reality. So share with me your reality. Please comment below if you are so inclined to share perhaps what you might know about a neighbor or somebody who is struggling with unemployment and making ends meet and feeding themselves. And now what instigated this, of course, is the message that I received about the disconnections. People aren't working for 8 months. How are they feeding themselves? How are they paying their electric bills at all? Throughout history, revolutions happen when people's children are going hungry in the streets. Throughout history, that is a recipe for revolution. Okay? Am I instigating a revolution? No, I'm not. I'd rather not see one happen. What are the solutions? I don't know. I don't know. I have a Social Security check every month, and it's not much. But a lot of people I know don't have that. Most people I know who've ever applied for disability have been turned down. So that's my question of the day. I'm curious. I'm putting things together here. People are unemployed, not getting unemployment. They have no income coming in. Sooner or later, the governor is going to, if the governor is allowing the disconnection of electrical services, the governor is going to allow the I'm trying to think of the word. This is a real deal multiple sclerosis moment. The governor is going to allow the evictions. Do you see? When you have MS, you can have a word completely just taken out of your brain. Okay? It's like a cosmic joke that I have 3 sisters sitting under a big tree and they're just pulling out a word and I can't grab that word because it was just taken out of my brain. And then the word gets put back in my brain 30 seconds later, 30 hours later. The governor's going to lift the eviction restrictions and people are going to start becoming homeless. A friend of mine recently said to me, we're already in a depression and things are only going to get worse, and things are going to get worse than the depression ever was. So now we're seeing electricity and utilities being shut off in homes. And if you think that a disabled person cannot have their utilities shut off, then you have your head buried in the sand and you don't know what you're talking about, because a disabled person can have their utilities shut off. I had mine shut off in 2018. So they don't give 2 shits about you, me, or your disabilities at all. So with electric being shut off in homes, people not having utilities, people are going to be pissed. Soon the eviction restrictions will be lifted and people are going to be living in the streets with no money. What do you think is going to happen? So in any event, I'm curious if you have answers to these questions. If you have answers to my question is, how are people paying their bills? How are people feeding their children? How are people going to keep a roof over their head? I'm curious because I don't see any solutions to this at all. And as usual, the government will first attack Social Security. The government will attack and drain and use Social Security money for sick and disabled and elderly and retired people to fix its problems, as it has probably in every administration since I've been alive. And on that note, disclaimer, I am not a Democrat, I am not a Republican, I am not a communist, I am not a socialist, I am apparently not even from your planet. But all of those political ideas, all of those political parties, they are all the same. The problem with one of the problems with the world today, the biggest problem with the world today is apathy. The second biggest problem with the world today is you have a small group of men who are in charge of the distribution of the goods and services that are granted and loaned to them by a major population. Okay? And the small group of men that are in charge of those goods and services are corrupt. Because if they weren't corrupt, given the fact that we have an overabundance of food and goods and resources on the planet, there should not be one homeless child on this planet. There should not be one person going hungry, and there should not be one person going without an education or a meal or medical care today at all. Do you see the huge contrast I just painted? People can't feed their kids. People can't keep their electric on. People are going to be homeless. Yet we have an overabundance of resources, and that is a fact. Okay? If you have something to add, something to share, please respond if you have some ideas. I'm curious about what's going to happen. When this started, I told people to buy seeds and ammunition. That wasn't a joke when I posted it on Facebook. Everybody was buying toilet paper when they should have been buying something to grow food, something to hunt food. In any event, guys, that's my 2 cents this morning. I hope you guys have a happy, healthy, and safe day wherever you are. And be well, my friends. Interact. Be social. See you when I see you. Talk to you soon.